Good morning, everyone. This is Peter Booker, and today I'll be giving the forecast for Monday, November the 17th. And we'll be looking at the lower 48 forecast for the next several days. Now, I want to begin by looking at the radar late last night. This is as of 11:44 p.m. on Sunday night. And we can see snowfall activity over the northeast, lake enhanced in many cases over New York State and western Pennsylvania. And then we have snowfall associated with a low pressure system over New Brunswick, Canada. And we can see some wraparound snowfall there. In many cases, maybe 1 to 3 inches of snowfall overnight for the higher locations, let's say over New York State, also over Pennsylvania. Eastern Maine, with that low pressure system, we could see maybe 2 to 4 inches in northeastern portions of the state, but that will probably be the maximum that we see overnight. Further to the west still, we can see over Colorado showers and some lighter snowfall north of Denver. There's a weak low pressure system developing over there overnight. And still further to the west, we have heavy rains moving into northern California and perhaps southern Oregon overnight. Rainfall amounts will be 1 to 3 inches, let's say throughout California over the next day, and that rainfall will be moving into Arizona coming up by Tuesday. I now want to look at the trough ridge pattern over the lower 48. We can see this large trough over the northeast and the associated low pressure system over New Brunswick. This will begin to move north and east in the coming days, but cold air will be left in its wake. We'll probably see cold temperatures through Thursday morning in the northeast. And then also further to the west, we have this ridge over the Great Plains that will be delivering warm temperatures throughout the central U.S. Temperatures in the 70s and 80s can be expected early in the week. And still further to the west over California, we have this new trough moving inland, and with it heavy rains for much of the southwest, and we'll be getting into amounts soon enough. Now, as we look at the loop here, again, looking at the height tendencies in the middle troposphere, we can see that trough moving north and east over time. And with it, the cooler temperatures will move out of the mid-Atlantic and the Midwest and give way to some warmer temperatures by midweek. Still, we have that low pressure system and the associated shortwave moving from west to east from Colorado, let's say over the plains, and eventually into the Ohio Valley before falling apart by, let's say, Wednesday. We'll go over rainfall amounts as well as the thunderstorm activity that could be occurring, as well as some heavy rains over Kentucky here in a moment. Now, further to the west, we can see that short wave that's moving into California. Again, the heavy rains associated with that. That will likely bring another round of showers and storms to the Great Plains later this week. Now, as far as the upper level winds and the energy associated with them, the jet stream, we can see where the jet stream clearly outlines let's say, the trough here in the east at the beginning of the week. Again, that steadily moves north and east over time. Now, as we get into the days Tuesday and Wednesday, we can see this very strong ridging taking place over the Great Plains and the south. And with it, some really warm temperatures, above average temperatures, moving in to places like Texas and Arkansas and throughout much of the southeast. And as you move further to the west, again, you can see this really deep trough that's developing over California. Again, that will eventually move further to the east, again, create those showers and thunderstorms by midweek, especially by Thursday as you get into the Great Plains, another round for them. The temperatures associated with the trough, let's say over the northeast, you can see how strong they're holding through about Thursday morning. Again, overnight lows in the 20s and 30s in many instances, New York State through, let's say, Maine during this period. And then over the south, we can see from Texas basically to Florida, temperatures in the 70s and 80s Tuesday and Wednesday. And further still over the Midwest, we can see some 30s at the beginning of the week, but that gives way to 40s and 50s by Wednesday. Now, over the Northwest and let's say the Intermountain West as well, we can see temperatures in the 30s and 40s for daytime highs, and some 20s and 30s, let's say, in the mountains, or the high country at least of Colorado and Wyoming. Now, over California, there will be some heavy snowfall, especially above 10,000 feet in the Sierra Nevada. Some places there could see 6 to 12 inches. Now, further to the south in California, we'll have this heavy rain move into, let's say, Los Angeles late in the day Monday. But as you hit into Tuesday, we'll see that rain move into Arizona. And I kind of want to show that here on the next map, our forecast map for early week. And we can see the heavy rain move into California during the day Monday with some mountain snow there in the Sierra Nevada. Now, as we move into Arizona, we can see that heavy rain and the embedded Ritter cells right on the day Tuesday, again indicating isolated amounts of 2 to 3 inches perhaps during the day Tuesday. What you'll also notice is this developing low pressure system during the day Monday in the plains, and that develops some pretty strong showers and thunderstorms over the Midwest and Kentucky in particular by the day Wednesday. And this is before that low pressure system, of course, falls apart. Now, as far as rainfall amounts, this map here shows the 24-hour rainfall amounts. And this is in motion, so it doesn't keep account of, let's say, the total rainfall, but just the rainfall for a particular day. Now, wherever you see blue, that's about a half an inch of rain. So in general, across the entire state of California, we can expect a good half an inch of rain from this system. And where you see the lighter colors, and especially the pink, we're seeing 2 to 3 inches of rainfall across the state. Now, in locations such as Arizona, again, the central part of Arizona looks to be getting a good half an inch to 3/4 of an inch of rain. These lighter colors, of course, indicated 1 to maybe perhaps even 3 inches of rain, and in locations that cannot handle it necessarily. So localized flooding can be expected across Arizona, especially the central portion of the state. Now, as we move further forward in time, let's say late in the day Tuesday into Wednesday, we can see these lighter blues pop up over Kentucky and West Virginia. And this is associated with that weak low pressure system moving across the Midwest and Ohio Valley. And with it, we'll probably see an area of 2 to 3 inches from heavier thunderstorms that develop across Kentucky during the day Wednesday. And of course, some localized flooding can be expected in that area as well. Now, looking ahead to Thursday, we can see where this big trough is dipping across into the western United States. Another low pressure system will likely form over Colorado, give or take 50 to 150 miles of what you're seeing on this map here. And with it, another round of showers and thunderstorms will develop over the Great Plains later this week. And further still to the north and west, we can see a stronger, let's say, shortwave moving on shore in Washington state. This will be the next atmospheric river event that's moving in, again, delivering another half an inch to as much as 1.5 inches of rain to some locations in the northwest as we get into the later part of the week. Now, the last thing I want to kind of point out in this figure is this low pressure system, let's say, near Alaska. And with it, we have these really low 500 millibar heights. And where you see the purples and, let's say, the lighter pinks here, that is a very anomalously low, let's say, height level for the 500 millibar atmospheric pressure. Now, when that propagates south and east, it will eventually reach the eastern side of the Rockies at some point later this month. And what's interesting about that is that will likely have colder temperatures accompanying it, very anomalously cold temperatures. And let's see if we can take a look at that here in the next image. Now, as we look at this map here, we can see these colder temperatures coming down the eastern Rockies just in time for Thanksgiving. So we can see this loop basically begin on the 25th and go through about the 28th. And by the time we get to the 27th and 28th, we can see these really cold temperatures dive down on the eastern side of the Rockies, extending into Texas, northeastward into places like Missouri and Illinois. And the thing to keep in mind here is there's going to be a very strong cold front accompanying this. And you can kind of make out the position of the trough, at least the forecast position for now, being in kind of a neutral state. And what I mean by that is that you have this almost like vertical line that can be drawn down the middle of it. And whenever you have this neutral phase to a trough, it's ideal for development of a cyclone on the southeast quadrant of it. So imagine something, let's say, maybe developing over, let's say, Arkansas or Missouri, maybe even Oklahoma. And wherever that develops, we'll probably have heavy snow on the backside of this. And you would say, well, how do I know that? Well, there's going to be a huge temperature gradient between the cold air and the warm air coming up, such that there's a lot of instability with this incoming system. So again, around the holidays here, around Thanksgiving, let's say into maybe Black Friday, there is the potential for a very strong storm to develop. And for those that live, let's say, anywhere from eastern New Mexico up through Michigan, there is the potential for heavy snow throughout that Black Friday, anywhere from 6 to 12 inches. And that would be probably the biggest snow that that area has seen up to this part of the year, right? This part of the season. So we'll leave it at that for the forecast today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave any questions that you have in the comments below, and hopefully I can answer them for you moving forward. But it looks like we have a very interesting system to look at in the coming days, especially before Thanksgiving. We'll see if this actually pans out, especially for those that are traveling on the roads in this area of the country. Until then, have a great week.